around 4:02 this morning, I was watching television, and I heard some light shooting, and then I heard loud shooting that followed the light shooting. I began to hit the floor because it occurred. It sounded as if it was right outside my house, but it was a few yards further back. I ran to this side of my house to make sure that my wife was okay. Upon finding out that she was fine, I heard a guy yelling for help. Help me, help me. I'm dying, help me, help me. I looked out my window and he was laying right here on my lawn. That's his shoe right over there. I did not come outside. I immediately called 911. When the police officers arrived, the Rockdale Sheriff, they came in a minute. I applaud the Rockdale County Sheriffs. They came here, and the deputies, they came here in a minute. When they came, I came out. I took pictures of the gentleman. I have them in my phone. I took pictures of the gentleman, and he said, I'm dying. I said, just hold on. Stop moving around. Just hang in there. Hang in there. Just hang in there. And I said to the deputy, I said, where's the ambulance? Where's the ambulance? But so the ambulance was nowhere to be found. I was a little bothered by that because I think the ambulance should have been here faster. When I called 911, I said that there was a shooting, and there was a person laying on my lawn. That right there should have dispatched the ambulances to immediately arrive. So I'm a little bothered by that. However, I don't know how that's structured, and so I don't want to spend much time in that area. But this neighborhood, I've lived here for over 15 years. This is a great neighborhood. Right? This is Pine Forest. This is a great neighborhood here in Rockdale County. This shooting is not, unfortunately, 3 young men lost their lives. 3 young men lost their lives right here in my neighborhood. Now, I'm bothered by that. I'm hurt by that. Now, some might say, well, you know, they had no business doing what they did. You're right. But they were still 3 young men. They still had a mother. They still had a father, a sister. And so, yes, I'm still bothered by that. And what that tells me is that what are we doing as a county? What are we not doing as a county when it comes to investing in these young men? If we can introduce a $140 million referendum to expand the courthouse, but yet we can't find any money to create prevention programs for these young kids, that's what's happening. And if we don't do that, what we've seen today is a microcosm of what's going to happen later on in Rockdale County, and I'm afraid of that.
What do you think these 3 young men were doing in your neighborhood?
Well, from what I gather, because I know my neighbor, and he's a good fella. He's a real good fella. We've done a lot of things together. I know he's very protective of his mother. So he may have felt that there was a level of suspicion in which these young people were trying to break in his house. He lives with his mother. He's a truck driver. Guy makes an honest living. He's seldom here. Sometimes once a month, or just on weekends or what have you. But he'll always stop by and blow the horn and let me know that he's in town. And so perhaps he's seen at 4 o'clock in the morning a bunch of guys hanging around his house. Now, of course, anyone will look at that as being suspicious. And not only that, this guy had a mask on. So I later found out that the other ones had a mask on as well. So in my view, their intent was to harm someone, either robbing them or even killing them. All right? So I don't know. I'm being presumptuous. And so, but I will tell you that when I heard the loud sound, I knew that was an AR. I knew it was because I've heard the gun sound before. And I then associated that with him because I knew that there was a gun like that around his premises to protect his mother. And so I later found out that yes, when I seen the officer walk by holding the gun in his hand, I was absolutely correct that it was an AR.
It was the homeowner's AR.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
because
from what I
keeps
gather.
that for
Yes.
protection. So the first
yes.
round of gunshots you heard were maybe from the young men.
Yes.
And then the
I
second round.
don't know where they
Right.
came from, but they were, it sounded like they were smaller, pat, 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 and then I heard doom, 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 like that. All right. And so I then knew that there was a major shootout going on in the neighborhood, and of course, my thinking was to go make sure that my wife is okay.
What was going through your mind when you saw this man laid out on your lawn?
I was extremely bothered by that. There's a young man laying on my lawn with a bullet in his chest. I was bothered by that. My father was murdered when I was 12 years old. And I lost a young fella in my youth diversion program in Connecticut who was shot 3 times in the back, and I was giving him mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. And he died in my arms around the same age as this young kid. And so I was bothered by that. is a young kid laying dead on my lawn. And so for anyone to imagine seeing someone who was just shot laying on your lawn, that's what bothered me. And I'm torn up behind that. But I know that we must address this here in Rockdale County. And if we don't address this in Rockdale County will certainly die as a county. And I'm going to fight hard to make sure that doesn't happen.
But based on everything you've heard, it sounds like this homeowner was justified in protecting his property.
Again, I don't want to be presumptuous, but I would think so. And knowing him the way I know him, he loves his mother. And he will do anything and everything to protect his mother. And when we have young people, 4 o'clock in the morning, they're certainly not going to try and go into someone's house and make a sandwich at 4 o'clock in the morning. And so their intent was to do some harm, from what I gather. And so, you know, look, if the man had to defend himself, that's what he had to do. And I'm sorry for the family of those young men who lost their lives. But, you know, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. And we must try and prevent the younger generation of these young kids to not emulate that same behavior.
What age did the child that you saw? Was he a child?
He looked like he was about 15, about 15 or 16 years old.
So they were not men. They were.
No, he looked like he was about 15.
And describe the mask that you saw.
It was a black mask, kind of made with a little rubber. I didn't really spend too much time looking at it, but he had it below his neck, and he was just wailing. His arm was he had his left hand on the bullet wound, and his other arm. He said, "Help me! I'm dying." And then all of a sudden things started calming down. He was losing a lot of blood, and I said, "Look, just hold still. The ambulances are on their way." And so I just later found out that the guy died, and I felt real bad. I really felt bad about that. But I applaud the sheriff's deputies, because one of the deputies was assisting him, helping this young man, and I applaud him for that. I really do.
Sir, let me get your full name. I know.
Yeah, my name is Brian L. Jenkins.
Brian, Brian.
Correct. Jenkins.
And you're running for county commission?
I'm running for chairman of Rockdale County.
Okay,
And this is the very reason why I'm running for chairman. If we can take 1400 Parker Road and give it to a donor for $10 a year, leasing it for $10 a year, why couldn't we take that building and repurpose that building and put in some youth programs? This is what we need in Rockdale County. These young men, from what I understand, lived on the other side. That's the city of Conyers. Well, the city of Conyers they need to do the same thing. We need to create programs for young people. If they can introduce a curfew, why can't they introduce something that deals with prevention? If we can spend millions of dollars and create a youth detention center, why can't we find millions of dollars to create a youth prevention center?
Any idea why they would have picked your neighbor?
I have no idea. 4 o'clock in the morning, I have absolutely no idea.
Thank you, Mr.
Yes.
Jenkins.
Could have been you.
It could have been me. It could have been me. I do come out periodically to just take a look in the neighborhood, but I spend all my time right in the front of my house just to take a peek and to see if things are okay. And, you know, I've never had any problems. 15 years I've been living here, never had any problems. It is a very good neighborhood.
Thank you.